The glass broke. That's all Bisola saw at first. Anastasia Volkova's champagne glasses hitting the floor, shattering into 1,000 pieces. Pretty almost, like diamonds. Then the woman fell. Not gracefully, not slowly. She just dropped, face first into her plate. Her head made a sound when it hit the table, a crack, loud enough that everyone heard it over the music. The restaurant went silent. Bisola was already moving before her brain caught up. Her chair scraped back. Her heels came off. She ran. She didn't think about the fact that she was the only black woman in a room full of Russian billionaires. Didn't think about how she was supposed to be invisible here, hiding, surviving. A woman was dying. That's all that mattered. Move! Bisola shoved past a man in a tuxedo. He stumbled back, shocked. She dropped to her knees beside the woman, glass cut into her skin through her dress. She didn't feel it, fingers to the neck, checking for a pulse. There, but weak, too weak. The woman's lips were blue. "Call ambulance!" Bisola shouted. Her Russian was terrible, but she didn't care. Now! Nobody moved. They just stared. Bisola ripped the woman's blouse open. Buttons flew everywhere. She placed her hands on the woman's chest and started pushing. Hard, fast. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Her nursing school professor's voice in her head. If you're not breaking ribs, you're not doing it right. She pushed harder. Around her, people started screaming. A woman fainted. A man yelled something in Russian. Bodyguards appeared out of nowhere, guns half drawn. Not sure if Bisola was helping or attacking. Then he was there. A man. Tall. Expensive suit. Grey eyes that looked like winter. He dropped to his knees across from her. Is she breathing? Not yet. Bisola didn't stop. Couldn't stop. How old is she? 64. Medical problems? Heart? High blood pressure? Medications? I don't know. His voice cracked. Please, she's my mother. Bisola looked up, just for a second, and her whole world stopped. She knew that face. Have you ever saved someone's life only to realize it might cost you your own? If this story made your heart race, please hit that like button and subscribe. We work so hard to bring you these stories, and your support means everything to us. 3 years ago, Geneva, a private clinic where rich people went when they didn't want questions asked. He'd called himself Michael Orloff, paid cash, told her he had pancreatic cancer and 6 months to live. She'd treated him in secret, given him medications that weren't legal, risked everything, and he'd disappeared the day he got better. No thank you, no goodbye, nothing. Now he was here, in Moscow, staring at her like he'd seen a ghost. But Bisola didn't have time for ghosts. The woman under her hands was dying. She bent down, put her mouth over the woman's mouth, blew air into her lungs, once, twice. The woman's chest rose, fell, nothing. Back to compressions. Bisola's arms burned. Her shoulders screamed. She'd been doing this for 2 minutes. Felt like 2 hours. Come on, she whispered. Come on, Mama, don't you dare die on me. The man, Michael, or whatever his real name was, said something in Russian, fast, angry. A bodyguard ran off. What's her name? Bisola asked. Anastasia. Anastasia, I need you to fight. Your son needs you. You hear me? Fight. And then a miracle. The woman gasped, choked. Her eyes flew open. Bisola rolled her onto her side. The woman vomited, coughed, gasped again. You're okay, Bisola said. You're safe. I've got you. Anastasia looked up at her, confused, terrified. She said something in Russian. The man answered. His voice shook. He was crying. Sirens outside, getting closer. The paramedics burst in. Young guys in uniforms, professional and quick. They took over, asking questions in Russian. Bisola answered in broken Russian and medical terms. Heart attack. CPR for 3 minutes. Pulse restored. Needs. Hospital now. They loaded Anastasia onto a stretcher. The man stood up to follow. Then he stopped, turned around, looked at Bisola, really looked. Dr. Mitchell, he said quietly. That was the fake name she'd used in Geneva. Bisola's stomach dropped. I don't know what you're talking about. No? He stepped closer. His bodyguards moved with him, a wall of muscle and guns. Then maybe I'm confused. Maybe you just look like the doctor who saved my life 3 years ago in Switzerland. I've never been to Switzerland. Liar. The word hit like a slap. He pulled out his phone, showed her a photo. Bisola's face, younger, her hair different, but definitely her. I know who you are, Dr. Bisola Adeyemi, from Lagos. Ran from a malpractice case that destroyed your career. He put the phone away. I know everything. Bisola couldn't breathe. How? I'm very good at finding people who try to disappear. He glanced at his mother being loaded into the ambulance. You saved her life. I'm grateful, but gratitude and business are different things. I don't want your business. You don't have a choice. His voice went cold. My mother will need cardiac monitoring, follow-up care. You're qualified. You'll do it. I'm not licensed in Russia. I can't. I don't care about licenses. I care about keeping her alive. He leaned closer. You'll report to my estate tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. My driver knows where you live. And if I refuse? He smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. Then I make one phone call to Nigeria. Tell them exactly where their missing doctor is hiding. How long do you think you'd last in a Lagos prison, Dr. Adeyemi? Her blood turned to ice. He walked away, disappeared into the ambulance with his mother. Bisola stood alone in the empty restaurant, glass everywhere, blood on her knees, her hands shaking. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. A text message. Tomorrow. 9 a.m. Don't be late. Dmitry Volkov, not Michael Orlov. Dmitry Volkov. She Googled the IT name with trembling fingers. The first result made her knees weak. Dmitry Volkov, Pakan of the Volkov Bratva, one of Moscow's most dangerous men. She'd just saved the mother of a Russian mafia boss, and now she belonged to him. Bisola didn't sleep. She sat in her tiny apartment in the Arbat district staring at her phone, at the text message that felt like a death sentence. Tomorrow. 9 a.m. Don't be late. Dmitry Volkov. Outside her window, Moscow celebrated the New Year. Fireworks exploded over the Kremlin. Drunk people sang in the streets. Somewhere, a woman laughed. Bisola wanted to run, pack her bag, get to the train station, disappear into Poland or Latvia or anywhere that wasn't here. But she'd tried running before, from Lagos, from the scandal that destroyed her, from the senator's son who'd died on her operating table. Except he hadn't really died, had he? That's what they'd told her later, that it was all fake, a setup. She still didn't understand why, and now she was, trapped again. This time by a man who knew her real name, her past, everything. At 8:45 a.m., someone knocked on her door. Bisola jumped, her heart hammered against her ribs. 3 more knocks, harder. She opened the door. A man stood there, 50-something, built like a wall, expensive coat, dead eyes. Dr. Adeyemi, I am Pavel. Mr. Volkov sent me. I know, I'm ready. She wasn't ready, not even close. The car was a black Mercedes, bulletproof glass, leather seats that probably cost more than her medical degree. They drove in silence, out of the city centre, past the tourist areas, into neighbourhoods where buildings had gates and guards and cameras everywhere. Pavel pulled up to an estate that looked like a palace. 3 stories, white stone, windows that reflected the winter sun like mirrors. Guards at the gate, more guards at the door. Pavel led her inside. The house was warm, expensive. Art on the walls that Bisola recognised from textbooks. A Chagall, maybe a Kandinsky. She wasn't sure. Wait here, Pavel said. He disappeared down a hallway. Bisola stood in the foyer, feeling like she'd been swallowed by a museum. Then she heard voices. Upstairs. A woman crying. A man speaking softly in Russian. Footsteps on the stairs. Dmitri appeared. He looked different in daylight, tired, older. His shirt was wrinkled. He hadn't slept either. "Dr. Adeyemi, thank you for coming." Like she'd had a choice. "How is she?" Bisola asked. "Stable, but the hospital wants to keep her for a week. I brought her home." "You what?" Bisola stared at him. "She had a massive cardiac event. She needs monitoring, equipment, specialists. She has you. I'm one person. I'm not a hospital." "Then I'll bring the hospital here." He gestured toward the stairs. "I have a medical suite, fully equipped. Whatever you need, I'll get it." Bisola wanted to argue, wanted to tell him this was insane. But the look on his face stopped her. He wasn't asking, he was begging. "Show me," she said. The medical suite was on the second floor, a converted bedroom that now looked like a private ICU. Heart monitor, defibrillator, IV stands, oxygen, everything. Anastasia lay in the bed, looking small and fragile. Her eyes were closed. An oxygen mask covered her nose and mouth. A young woman sat beside the bed, holding Anastasia's hand. She looked up when they entered. Her eyes were red from crying. "This is my sister Katya," Dmitri said. "Sister." "Right." Bisola moved to the bed. Checked the monitors. Anastasia's heart rate was steady. Blood pressure stable. Better than last night, but still concerning. "Has she been awake?" Bisola asked. "Twice," Katya said. Her English was perfect. "She asked for water. I gave her small sips." "Good, that's good." Bisola pulled out her stethoscope. "I need to examine her, privately." Dmitri nodded. He said something to Katya in Russian. She kissed her mother's forehead and left. Dmitri stayed. "You too?" Bisola said. "No. I need to examine her. Alone. She's my mother. And I'm her doctor. Out." They stared at each other. A test of wills. He left first. Bisola waited until the door closed. Then she examined Anastasia properly, listened to her heart, her lungs, checked her pupils, her reflexes. Everything pointed to a severe cardiac event, possibly a myocardial infarction. She'd need blood work, an ECG, maybe an angiogram. But something felt wrong. The symptoms were right, but the presentation was off, like someone had copied a textbook case but missed small details. Bisola made notes on her phone, questions she needed answered. When she opened the door, Dmitri was right outside, like he'd been listening. "Well?" he asked. "She's stable, but I need her medical records, everything, past 10 years. I'll have them sent over, and I need to run tests, blood work, ECG, full cardiac panel, done. And if I find something wrong, something that needs a hospital, you don't argue, you let me transfer her." He hesitated. Agreed. They went downstairs. Pavel had coffee waiting in the kitchen. Real coffee, not the instant garbage Bisola had been drinking. She sat at the marble island. Dmitri sat across from her. "Now," he said, "let's talk about Geneva." Bisola's stomach knotted. "There's nothing to talk about. I paid you $50,000 to treat my cancer, under a fake name. You risked your license, your career. Why? You needed help. So do lots of people. You don't risk prison for all of them." She looked at him, really looked. He'd lost weight since Geneva. His skin had a grey tint. The scar from his biopsy was still visible above his eyebrow. "You're sick again," she said. Not a question. His jaw tightened. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Yes, you do. The cancer came back. That's why you look like death. That's why you haven't slept. That's why you're so desperate to keep your mother here instead of a hospital." "Stop. Because if she's in a hospital, the doctors will run tests. They'll see the medication in your system. They'll ask questions." I said stop. "How long have you been hiding it, Dmitri? 6 months? A year?" He stood up. Fast. The chair scraped against the floor. "You don't know anything about my life. I know you're dying." The words hung in the air like smoke. He stared at her, fury and fear fighting for control of his face. Then Katya screamed. Upstairs. Loud. Terrified. Dima! Dima! Come quick! They ran, took the stairs 2 at a time, burst into the medical suite. Katya was backing away from the bed, her hand over her mouth. Anastasia was convulsing, eyes rolled back, body rigid, the heart monitor screaming. She's seizing, Bisola said. She grabbed the bed rail. How long? I don't know, 30 seconds, maybe more. Bisola checked the monitors, heart rate spiking, blood pressure through the roof. This wasn't a complication from the heart attack. This was something else. She looked at the IV bag hanging beside the bed. Clear, liquid, saline, standard. Except, there, a tiny puncture mark in the injection port. Fresh. Someone had added something to the IV. Someone had poisoned Anastasia Volkova. And whoever it was had been in this room less than 5 minutes ago. Bisola moved fast. She ripped the IV out of Anastasia's arm, grabbed the bag, threw it across the room. What are you doing? Dmitri shouted. Someone poisoned her. The IV, look! She pointed at the injection port, the tiny hole where someone had pushed a needle through. Dmitri's face went white, then red. Then something worse than anger. He turned to Pavel, who'd appeared in the doorway, said something in Russian. Fast. Deadly. Pavel pulled out his gun and left. We need to stop the seizure, Bisola said. Does she have a history of epilepsy? No, never. Then this is acute. Whatever they gave her is attacking her nervous system. Bisola checked Anastasia's pupils. Fixed and dilated. Not good. I need diazepam, or lorazepam. Any benzodiazepine. I don't know what that is. Anti-seizure medication. Now, Dmitri. Or she dies. Katya ran out of the room, came back 60 seconds later with a first aid kit the size of a suitcase. Bisola tore through it, found what she needed, drew up the medication, injected it into Anastasia's thigh. Come on, she whispered. Come on, Mama, fight. 10 seconds, 20, 30. The convulsions slowed, stopped. Anastasia went limp. Bisola checked her pulse. Still there, weak, but there. She's stable, for now. Bisola looked at Dmitri. But we need to know what they gave her. I need that IV bag analysed, and I need to know who had access to this room. Dmitri's hands were shaking, not from fear, from rage. Everyone, he said quietly. Everyone in this house had access. Staff, guards, family. Family? Bisola stared at him. You think someone in your family tried to kill her? I don't know what to think anymore. He walked to the window, looked out at the snow-covered garden. 3 months ago, someone tried to poison my food. We traced it to the kitchen, fired everyone, hired new staff. His voice was flat, empty. 2 months ago, my car's brakes failed. Mechanics said they'd been cut. We found the man responsible. He's dead now. Bisola's stomach turned. Someone's trying to kill you. Yes. Who? That's the question, isn't it? He turned back to her. I have enemies, lots of them. Business rivals, Chechen gangs, the Georgians, the Ukrainians. Take your pick. But your mother is leverage. You want to destroy a man? You don't kill him. You kill everyone he loves. Make him watch. Make him suffer. His jaw clenched. That's how this world works. Footsteps in the hallway. Heavy, multiple. Pavel entered with 4 men. They were dragging someone, a young man, maybe 25, thin, terrified, blood running from his nose. They threw him on the floor. Dmitri said something in Russian, cold, controlled. The young man answered, fast, desperate, crying. He's one of the housekeepers, Katya translated for Bisola. He says he didn't do anything. He just cleaned the room this morning, that's all. Search him, Dmitri said in English. Pavel patted the young man down, found a phone, a wallet, and a small glass vial in his pocket. Empty. Pavel held it up, said something in Russian. Dmitri's face went dark. What is it? Bisola asked. Strychnine, rat poison. Dmitri looked at the young man on the floor. Who paid you? The man shook his head, said something in Russian, pleading. Dmitri pulled a gun from inside his jacket, pointed it at the man's head. Wait, Bisola started. Who? Paid? You. The man sobbed, spoke in Russian, long sentences, begging. Katya translated, her voice shaking. He says a man approached him 3 weeks ago, offered him money, 50,000 rubles, just to put something in the IV when no one was looking. He didn't know it was poison. He thought it was just medicine. Bullshit, Dmitri said. He has a daughter. She's sick. He needed the money for treatment. Everyone has a sad story. Dmitri cocked the gun. Stop. Bisola stepped between them. You kill him, we learn nothing. Who was the man? What did he look like? Dmitri didn't lower the gun, but he didn't fire either. Katya asked the question in Russian. The young man answered, described someone, tall, 40-something, scar on his neck, spoke Russian with an accent. Maybe Ukrainian. Dmitri went very still. Victor, he said. Who's Victor? Bisola asked. My second in command, my best friend. He finally lowered the gun, looked at Pavel. Find him, now. Pavel nodded. He and his men dragged the young housekeeper out of the room. Bisola heard a gunshot from somewhere outside. She flinched. Dmitri didn't. You just killed him, Bisola whispered. He tried to kill my mother. He was desperate. He has a daughter. Everyone has a daughter. Everyone has an excuse. Dmitri put the gun away. This is my world, Doctor. Adeyemi. People die here. Get used to it or leave. I can't leave. You won't let me. No, I won't. He walked out. Katya stayed behind. She was crying silently, tears running down her face. I'm sorry, she said. I'm sorry you have to see this. It's not your fault. Isn't it? Katya looked at her mother, still unconscious in the bed. We chose this life. My father built this empire. Daima inherited it. I benefit from it. We're all guilty. Bisola didn't know what to say to that. She turned back to Anastasia, checked her vitals again. Still stable. But for how long? If someone in Dmitri's inner circle was trying to kill his family, no one was safe. Not Anastasia. Not Katya. Not Bisola. She thought about the young man who'd just been shot, his daughter who needed medical treatment, the impossible choice he'd made. 50,000 rubles, about $500. That's what a life was worth here. Bisola's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You should have stayed in. Lagos. Now you're part of this. And there's no way out. V. Victor. The man who'd paid someone to poison Anastasia. The man who was Dmitri's best friend. And apparently the man who knew exactly who Bisola was. Her hands started shaking. Another text. I know about the senator's son. I know what really happened in Lagos. And I know why you ran. Want me to keep that secret? Then do exactly what I say. Bisola stared at the phone. This couldn't be happening. Another text. Dmitri is dying. You're going to help him die faster, or everyone you love back home pays the price. Imagine poisoning your best friend to save your daughter. There's no right choice, only pain. If you've ever faced an impossible decision, drop a comment. And please subscribe if this story is breaking your heart. It helps us keep creating content that makes you feel something real. Bisola deleted the messages. Her fingers were shaking so badly she almost dropped the phone. She looked at Katya, still sitting by her. Mother's bedside, sweet, innocent Katya, who had no idea that the family she loved was rotting from the inside. I need to speak with your brother, Bisola said. He's in his office, downstairs, first door on the left. Bisola found him exactly where Katya said, behind a massive desk, speaking rapid Russian into his phone. When he saw her, he ended the call. How is she? Stable, but we need to talk, privately. Dmitri nodded. He pressed a button on his desk. Pavel, no one comes in. The door locked with a heavy click. What is it? Bisola showed him her phone. The deleted messages were still in her trash folder. Dmitri read them. His face didn't change, but his knuckles went white where he gripped the phone. Victor, he said quietly, your best friend. Not anymore. He handed the phone back. What does he know about Lagos? Everything, apparently. Bisola sat down without being invited. Her legs wouldn't hold her anymore. The senator's son, the one who died during surgery. Except he didn't die. It was all staged. Staged? Why? I don't know. The hospital told me he died from complications. But weeks later, someone sent me a photo. Him, alive, in Dubai. She looked at Dimitri. Someone wanted me destroyed, wanted me desperate enough to work off the books, to do things normal doctors won't do, like treat a dying mafia boss in Geneva. Yes. Dimitri leaned back in his chair, thinking. Victor knew I went to Geneva, he said finally. I told him I was getting treatment, but I didn't tell him where, or from who. He looked at Bisola. He must have tracked you, found out who you were, your history, everything. But why? What does he gain from this? Control. Leverage. Dimitri stood up, walked to the window. If you're treating me and taking orders from him, he controls my medical care, my life, my death. The word hung in the air between them. The cancer came back. Bisola said softly. Didn't it? Dimitri didn't turn around. 6 months ago. Metastasized to my liver, my bones. The treatment from Geneva stopped working. Why didn't you get more treatment? Because the moment I show weakness, everything falls apart. My organization, my family, everything my father built. His voice cracked. Victor knows this. He's been waiting, watching me get sicker, weaker, and now he's making his move. By killing your mother? By making me suffer first. By taking everything I love before he takes my life. Dimitri finally turned around. That's how you break a man in this world. You don't just kill him, you destroy him. Bisola thought about Victor's messages, about the threat against people back home. I have a younger brother in Lagos, she said quietly. Tunde. He's 17, wants to be a doctor like me. Her throat tightened. If Victor knows about me, he knows about Tunde. Then we protect him. I'll have my people in Nigeria. You have people in Nigeria? I have people everywhere. Dimitri pulled out his phone, made a call. Spoke in Russian for 2 minutes, hung up. Your brother will have security by tonight. He won't even know they're there. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. We still have to deal with Victor. Where is he? That's what I'm trying to find out. He's not answering his phone, not at his apartment, not at any of his usual places. Dimitri's jaw clenched. He's hiding, which means he's planning something big. A knock on the door. 3 short taps. Dimitri unlocked it. Pavel entered with a laptop. We found something, Pavel said in English. He set the laptop on the desk, turned it toward Dimitri. Security footage, black and white, time-stamped from this morning. Victor entering the estate, walking through the hallway, entering Anastasia's room alone. He was there for 90 seconds. When he left, he wasn't carrying anything. But when he'd entered, he'd had something small in his hand. The camera caught it. Just barely. A syringe. Son of a bitch, Dimitri whispered. The next clip showed Victor leaving the estate, getting into his car, driving away, but he wasn't alone. In the passenger seat was someone Bisola recognized. Young, thin, terrified. The housekeeper, the one who'd been shot. Except he hadn't been shot. That gunshot Bisola heard. It had been for show. You let him go, Bisola said. Dimitri didn't answer. Pavel spoke instead. Boss wanted to see where he'd run, who he'd contact. And? He went straight to Victor. They met at a warehouse in Kimki. We have eyes on them now. The laptop showed new footage. A warehouse. 2 figures inside. Victor and the housekeeper. Talking. Victor handed the young man money, then pulled a gun. Shot him in the head. The young man dropped. Victor walked away. Bisola felt sick. He killed his own accomplice. No witnesses, Dimitri said. Victor's covering his tracks. What do we do? We set a trap. Dimitri looked at her. And you're the bait. Excuse me? Victor wants you to help me die, so you'll tell him yes. You'll play along. Make him think you're scared. that you'll do whatever he says. And then what? Then we find out who else is working with him. Because Victor's not smart enough to do this alone. Someone else is pulling the strings. Who? I have suspicions, but I need proof. Dimitri moved closer. Can you do this? Can you pretend to betray me? Bisola thought about Tunde, about Anastasia upstairs, still recovering from poison, about the young housekeeper who just died for $500. What happens when Victor figures out I'm lying? He won't. You're a good actress. You've been pretending not to be terrified since you walked into my house. He wasn't wrong. And if something goes wrong, then I'll protect you, I promise. Bisola didn't believe in promises, not anymore. But she didn't have a choice. What do you want me to do? Dimitri smiled. It was cold, calculated. The smile of a man who'd killed before and would kill again. Text Victor. Tell him you'll do it. Tell him you'll help me die. Bisola pulled out her phone. Her hands were steady now. Fear did that sometimes. Made you calm when you should be screaming. She typed, I'll do what you want. Just leave my brother alone. What do you need me to do? B. She hit send. 3 minutes later, a response. Smart girl. Tomorrow night. Dimitri takes his evening medication at 9 p.m. You're going to replace it with what I give you. He'll die in his sleep. Painless. Easy. No one will suspect. Meet me at Gorky Park. Midnight. Come alone. Bisola showed Dimitri the message. Gorky Park, midnight. He looked at Pavel. Get everyone ready, full team, but invisible. If Victor sees anyone, he'll run. Pavel nodded and left. Dimitri turned back to Bisola. You don't have to do this. I can find another way. No, you can't. Bisola stood up. Victor knows who I am, what I've done. If I don't play along, he destroys me, destroys my brother. I don't have a choice. There's always a choice. Not in your world. You said it yourself, people die here. Dimitri studied her face, looking for cracks, for fear. He didn't find any. You're braver than I thought, he said quietly. I'm not brave. I'm just tired of running. Upstairs, Anastasia stirred. Katya called for Bisola. Bisola left Dimitri standing in his office, surrounded by screens showing a warehouse where a young man's body lay in a pool of blood. This was the world she'd stumbled into. And tomorrow night, in a frozen park in Moscow, she'd find out if she was strong enough to survive it. Midnight in Gorky Park was colder than death. Bisola stood near the fountain, watching her breath turn to smoke in the frozen air. The park was empty, just snow and silence, and the distant sound of traffic. She wore a wire under her coat. Dimitri's people had taped it to her skin an hour ago. A tiny microphone, smaller than a pill. We'll hear everything, Pavel had promised. You're not alone. But she felt alone. Footsteps behind her, crunching. Through snow, Bisola turned. Victor emerged from the shadows. Tall, 40-something. Scar on his neck, just like the housekeeper had described. He smiled. Dr. Adeyemi, thank you for coming. I didn't have a choice. No, you didn't. He moved closer. Did you tell Dimitri about our arrangement? No. Good. Because if you did, your brother dies. You understand? I understand. Victor pulled a small bottle from his pocket. Clear liquid. Could have been water. Could have been anything. Antifreeze. Ethylene glycol. Odorless. Tasteless. Mix it with his evening medication. He'll think it's just his cancer getting worse. Kidney failure. Metabolic acidosis. Dead in 48 hours. Bisola took the bottle. Her hands didn't shake. Why are you doing this? She asked. Why? Victor laughed. Because I've spent 20 years watching Dimitri play king. 20 years taking orders from a man who inherited everything while I earned nothing. His father promised me a share. Equal partnership. Then he died and Dimitri took it all. So this is about money. This is about respect. Victor's voice turned cold. I've killed for him, bled for him. And what do I get? A salary, like I'm staff. Like I'm nothing. You're killing his mother because you feel underappreciated? I'm sending a message. To him. To everyone. Victor stepped closer. When Dimitri dies, I take over. And everyone who laughed at me, everyone who thought I was just the hired help, they'll learn differently. You won't get away with this. I already have. You think you're the only doctor I control? I have 3 others. In Berlin, in Geneva, in Dubai. He smiled. Every doctor Dimitri might run to, I own. He has nowhere to go, no one to trust. He's already dead. He just doesn't know it yet. Bisola heard Pavel's voice in her earpiece. Tiny. Barely audible. We have enough. Get out of there. But Bisola couldn't move, because Victor pulled out a phone, showed her a photo. Tunde, her brother, walking out of school, in Lagos, red laser dot on his chest. Just in case you were thinking about being a hero, Victor said. My people are very good shots. 1 word from me and your brother becomes a memory. Bisola's blood turned to ice. Now, tomorrow night, 9 p.m. You give Dimitri the medication, then you call me, confirm it's done. After he's dead, you disappear. New identity, new country. I'll even pay you $500,000. You'll never have to work again. And if I refuse? You won't. Victor put the phone away. Because you're smart, and smart people survive. He walked away, disappeared into the darkness. Bisola stood there, holding a bottle of poison, listening to Pavel's voice in her ear. Cars are moving. We have him. Get back to the extraction point. But Bisola didn't move, because she'd seen something in Victor's eyes, something that told her this wasn't over. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Victor is not working alone. The wire you're wearing? We know about it. Turn around, slowly. A friend. Bisola's heart stopped. She turned. A woman stood 10 feet away. Older, elegant, expensive coat. Anastasia Volkova. But she wasn't in bed, wasn't weak, wasn't recovering. She looked perfectly healthy. Hello, Dr. Adeyemi, Anastasia said in perfect English. No accent, no frailty. You're supposed to be dying. I was, 3 days ago. Anastasia walked closer. Then I started feeling better, remarkably better, and I started wondering why. She pulled out a small notebook, opened it. I've been tracking Dimitri's medication for 6 months. Every pill, every injection, documenting everything. She showed Bisola the pages, dates, times, dosages. Someone's been tampering with his treatment, making him sicker. I couldn't prove it, until tonight. Victor, yes, but not just Victor. Anastasia's expression hardened. There's someone else, someone giving Victor orders, someone who wants my son dead and my family destroyed. Who? That's what I need you, to help me find out. Bisola stared at her. You faked the heart attack. No, the heart attack was real, but I've been awake for 2 days, listening, watching, pretending to be unconscious while everyone talked around me. Anastasia smiled. Men always underestimate old women. They think we're weak, helpless. They don't realize we've survived things that would break them. Does Dimitri know? Not yet, and you won't tell him, because if Victor suspects I'm awake, he'll change his plan. We'll lose our chance. Chance for what? To catch the real traitor, the one giving Victor orders. Anastasia took the bottle of poison from Bisola's hand. Tomorrow night, you'll give Dimitri his medication, the real medication. But you'll tell Victor you gave him the poison. Then we wait. See who makes the next move. That's insane. That's survival. Anastasia's eyes were steel. My husband taught me something before he died. In this world, you're either the hunter or the prey. I'm done being prey. Footsteps, multiple, coming fast. Pavel appeared with 4 men, guns drawn. Mrs. Volkova, you should be in bed. I'm exactly where I need to be. Anastasia turned to Bisola. Tomorrow night, do exactly what I said. Trust no one. Not even my son. Why not? because the person trying to kill him is someone he loves, someone he'd never suspect. And if we tell him, he won't believe us. He'll warn them, and we'll all die. Pavel's radio crackled, a voice in Russian. Urgent. Pavel's face went white. Boss, we lost Victor. He had a second car. He's gone. Then find him, Anastasia said calmly. Mrs. Volkova, with respect, you should not be out here. I'm fine, Pavel. Take Dr. Adeyemi home. Make sure she's safe. Anastasia walked away, strong, steady. Nothing like the dying woman from yesterday. Bisola realized something then. She'd been played by everyone, Victor, Dmitri, and now Anastasia. She was a pawn in a game she didn't understand. Pavel drove her home in silence. When they arrived at her building, he said, "Tomorrow, 9 p.m., whatever Mrs. Volkova told you to do, do it. She's never wrong." "And if she is?" "Then we all die." Bisola went upstairs to her apartment, locked the door, sat on her bed. Her phone buzzed. A message from Dmitri. "My mother is awake, really awake. She told me everything about Victor, about the plan, about you. I don't know if I can trust you. But she does. So tomorrow night we find out who's trying to destroy my family, and God help them when we do." Bisola lay back on her bed, stared at the ceiling. 24 hours from now, someone would die. She just didn't know who yet. Bisola could have run, but she stayed and fought for a family that wasn't even hers. If you've ever chosen to be brave when it would have been easier to give up, this story was for you. Please like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe. Your support is the only reason we can keep telling stories about people who refuse to break.